On Reality Check tonight, we bring you a fascinating story that we've been reporting on for the last month. A story of adventure, of intrigue, an escape bid, and of course, diplomacy. The story is about the 33-year-old Dubai princess Sheikha Latifa, who is daughter of UAE ruler Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, and who she said was torturing her by keeping her confined, and so she planned an escape bid. The escape happened with the help of a French intelligence officer who had also run away from Dubai way back in 2007. But how it concerns you or me is that her bid was allegedly foiled by India. Here's how our country played a starring role in this fascinating story. Basically, the two set sail from UAE in the spy Herve Jobber's boat in February. Their plan was to arrive in India and then fly to America to get asylum for the princess. They were just going off the coast of Goa on the 4th of March when they called for help. They called an NGO based in London for help, and they said that the Indian Coast Guard had surrounded them and started shooting in them. Then they came on board and took them all back to the UAE. Now, Herve Jobber and his crew have now been released after 2 weeks in captivity, but no one knows how Princess Latifa is. During the course of this story, India has just refused to comment over the past month, every time that we've asked them, whether it's the MEA or the Indian Coast Guard. Now, human rights international activists point out that this is a clear violation of rights. How could India overrule a woman's wishes in this manner? How could they send her back to the UAE when she had a visa and other travel documents? And how could they do so, all of it surreptitiously? Now, Indian diplomats say that India is well within its rights to do so. Why? Because they say that national interest trumps human rights. So India cooperated with UAE just like they do for us, and they do cooperate with us on the number of wanted men that we've got back from them. For example, the one that we've most recently got back, Farooq Takla, he is Dawood Ibrahim aide. He was wanted for the 1993 Mumbai blast and he was sent back in March 2018. Incidentally, he came back the same week that Princess Latifa, the whole incident happened, that she was in Goa and she was sent back. So it's all coinciding with that. However, intelligence officials have told NDTV that the two are not related. But we're just telling you that it happened in the same time frame. Iqbal Kaskar, Dawood's brother, he was also accused of running an extortion racket. UAE sent him back in September 2017. Ijaz Pathan, convicted for 93 Mumbai blast, he was sent back in February 2003. There are lots and lots of examples of this, of the cooperation, and all of this is supposed to be quid pro quo. As diplomat Talmiz Ahmed, the only one who agreed to go on record, most diplomats didn't even want to come and talk about this, he said that there's been no wrongdoing because even though they had a visa, the route that they took, coming by boat, is not appropriate. So India is right when it sent them back. When people are apprehended, appropriate response is to send them back because they came by the wrong route. That's what the official position is. Of course, official position is that there is no such thing that took place. They don't know about it. No one's, of course, denied our story. We've been reporting this over the last month. On the charge of violence, which, as we speak to Herve Jobber, that they were attacked by the Indian Coast Guard, they say these are loose remarks without any evidence. So who's right in this? Did India do right by looking out for itself, even if it meant sending a woman back to a hostile environment? Because that's how tough diplomacy works. Or should they have stood up for an individual's human rights to talk about it? So we're going to speak to experts. But first, let's just hear from the key newsmaker, that's Herve Jobber, who is a former French intelligence officer. And we spoke to him a short while ago before they had a press conference over there in London. But before we speak to him, let's just hear the last video of Princess Latifa, the 33-year-old daughter of the Dubai ruler, what she said in this video that was released just before she planned her escape, and she said that the video should be released in case she escaped or she had died. Here's what she said.
My father's right-hand man put me in prison under my father's orders, and then his all his CID guys, they put me in prison and they tortured me. Basically, one guy was holding me while the other guy was beating me, and they did that repeatedly. It took me, I don't know how many years coming out of prison to fully recover from that experience. The summer of 2017 is when a lot of things changed that kind of pushed me to go. Like, I can't wait any longer. I don't know how I'll feel just waking up in the morning and thinking, I can do whatever I want today. I can go wherever I want. I have all the choices in the world like anyone does. That'll be such a new, different feeling. That'll be amazing. I'm really looking forward to that. There's only so much you can do when you're trapped in a country and trapped by all these restrictions. There's only so much a human being can do. Yeah, I really feel like this is a start of just a new chapter in my life.
And the new chapter looks like it hasn't happened till now. Herve Jobe, who helped her escape and then was imprisoned with her when they were taken back from India, from the Indian coast, joins us now. Thank you very much for speaking to NDTV. First of all, if you would like to tell our viewers, how did you come into contact with Princess Latifa?
About 8 years ago. So it's been some time, actually. She contacted me because she had heard from friends about my escape in 2008. And she wanted to know if I could apply those skills to help her as well.
Okay, so what did you tell her? What was the plan that all of you decided on?
Well, from 2008, then we started to develop long distance pen pal relationship. She explained to me her situation, who she was. Of course, I had to verify her accounts because given who she was, who she said she was, and although she was in a rush, I mean, she really wanted to escape, flee her family. She was really committed to do it, but she postponed several times because of her sister, Shamsa. Somehow she wanted to take her with her, or she did not want to leave her behind. And then in 2017, so like almost 7 years later, she came to the conclusion that there was no hope to save her sister from Dubai. So she wanted to escape, and she thought that she would have more chances to help her from outside.
Okay, so how did the escape actually happen?
But she was committed to escape from her family in, I believe, in September 2017. And then she sent me over her friend, Tina, to discuss the details and start the preparation. I had to bring a boat over there. It's a long trip. It's very complicated and expensive to bring a boat in this area. So it took about 6 months.
Of course, and I just wanted you to clarify something. You had a visa, everybody, your crew had a visa, the Sheikha Latifa also had a visa. So your documentations for India were all right.
Yeah, everybody had a visa to India.
Okay, so when did you notice, because we've been reporting on the fact that on March 4th is when you were 50 kilometers or 50 miles away from the Indian coastline, and that's when you called this agency, international agency detained for Dubai for help. So what happened on the 4th of March? When did you notice the Indian guards and all of them attacking you?
So it's been 2 days. I noticed on my system, radars and electronics, that we've been under surveillance. I've seen an Indian Coast Guard plane. I have his identification, his tail number. I saw patrol boats. So I knew there was something going on. Unfortunately, there's nothing I could do about it because you're talking about the Indian Coast Guard. They have huge ships, warships everywhere, and there's nowhere to go. Indian Ocean is a big ocean, but there's no private yacht. There's a cargo ship crossing the Indian Ocean, but there's no private yacht. No, nobody goes there on vacation or for sailing. So when they see a private yacht in the Indian Ocean, they know that it's the one. There's no confusion. So I knew we were under surveillance, and then on March 4 night, then it was the attack. It's unusual because Coast Guard usually, when they have suspicion or when they go after a boat, they call on radio, they check you out, they investigate. There's a procedure. But here, it was a pure military attack to kidnap people. It was not to investigate. It was not to check. It was a military-style attack. It was brutal. I was beaten. My crew was beaten after we've been handcuffed. So it resorted to torture. You don't beat up people once they are handcuffed. Maybe if they resist arrest, okay, but that was torture. I was beaten severely, bled from my head. I still have a head injury. It was really brutal. I thought I was going to die. I thought they were going to kill us.
Now, these are serious charges, but how do you know for sure it's the Indians who attacked you and not the UAE officials who were also there, who were also present?
No, it was the Indians who attacked us, who brutalized us. It was the Indians. Once the Indians took over the boat, the Emirati came on board. They came from a helicopter, special forces, the Emirati. So they came on board, they took over, and the Indians left. But they did not leave completely. They were escorting us. I saw their warship on both sides of the boat. They were escorting us. I know they were Indian Coast Guard because there was painted on the side of the hull the marking Indian Coast Guard. And one of the ship had the number 11. I understand the Indian Coast Guard, they will try to deny it, but I've seen it. I have electronic evidence now. I have witnesses. It's the Indian Coast Guard. They did it. They broke the law. I cannot believe they did that. I mean, attacking a private yacht in international water is an act of war. I cannot believe they did that, and that they would. The only reason why I thought they would get away with it is because they've been told that we were not coming back. So either life in prison or executed. But I cannot believe the Indian Coast Guard attacked an American flag boat in international water. This is brave. This is unheard. That never happens.
And you were taken back and jailed?
Yeah, 3 crew, Tina and myself, we were jailed somewhere in Dubai. I don't know where because we were blindfolded. It looked like a secret prison because there was nobody in there. Could not hear anybody, no inmates, nothing. It was clean and, the food was okay, but it doesn't matter. Every day, every single day, I thought I was going to be executed. So it doesn't matter if they treat us well or not. When you think you're going to die, it's irrelevant.
I understand. Finally, I just want to ask you before we let you go, how is Sheikha Latifa right now? Do we know?
No, I have no idea how she is or where she is. I believe she has the same fate as her sister, in bed somewhere in a palace, chemically bounded, sedated or something like that. Because Latifa, she's a fighter. She's not going to let herself, like that in a room or in bed. So to control her, they have to sedate her. I think that's the way she is now.
Jabe, thank you very much for speaking to NDTV. And without further ado, I just want to bring in Commodore Siodaya Bhaskar, former naval officer, also Director, Society for Policy Studies, and Avani Bansal, Advocate for Supreme Court. Now, Avani, first I want to just come to you. We've heard what the Indian side is. They're not here because they find that the story is very sensitive, because India has this very good cooperative relationship. But is it right when they say, when the diplomat says that they didn't come by the right methods? Is that fair enough? And the fact that we are getting, these are Bombay blast accused who we are getting from UAE. So is it a fair trade-off?
Right. I'm not going to mince words here, Sunetra. I think, that's for the diplomats to do. But let's look at it from a legal perspective. Now, there are only two things that are possible, okay? They're saying that this is, they came by the wrong route. There was a criminal act involved by people who came in, and therefore they needed to be sent back. If that's the case, then we should know that we have laws on extradition. India and UAE have signed a bilateral convention on extradition, which applies, which only says that no matter who the person is, who you need to send back, you need to follow rule of law. And your rule of law basically means that you need to follow a proper process. There was no process followed. These individuals who were in a warship, they were not even on a warship, but several warships, as Jawed just told us, were there attacking these people, attacking the crew members in such a way that nobody knows where these people are now. So if you are to send them, you have to A, follow a certain proper minimum procedure, B, you need to know where you're sending them to, C, you need to conduct a basic minimum trial and see as to what's going to happen to these people who are being sent back. So to me, it's more than just being coincidental that you get Farooq Takla on the one hand and then you send this innocent woman on the other.
Okay, but Commodore Bhaskar, what they point out is, look, yes, that's on paper, but real life is much more murkier than that. And they point out like our novels, which are actually show how things work between two countries. And they say, look, national interest trumps all. Well, does it? And don't all countries do this?
Don't all countries do this? I think this is a very grey area actually, Sunetra, particularly where we
First of all, just to point out to our viewers that no one's denied this, but they're just stopping short of confirming it. The Coast Guard, in its only statement to us in our previous story, has said it wasn't our operation. Yeah, please continue.
Well, actually, I didn't know this particular aspect, that there was such a statement made. But when I heard what Mr. Jabe had to say from London just now, I would say that this is an extraordinary narrative. Meaning that I had first seen this, like most Indians may have seen, when it came into the media. There was a Bangalore-based newspaper, I think, which had one of the first stories sometime towards the end of March. And on the face of it, my first response was that this is extraordinary.
We reported it first.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Yes. Okay, you report. I read it first. That way. Okay, I'll place that on record. I'm just saying that to suggest that 4 in number warships, forget the nationality, had carried out this operation against an unarmed vessel, and there also is reference to special forces slithering down and getting on board this vessel.
According to the French officer.
According to what this French intelligence officer had said. To me, as a citizen of India, as a former naval officer, it seems frankly quite unlikely. The suggestion that the Indian Coast Guard is going to operate in this manner, board a vessel, seize them, beat them up, and he said, I almost was on the point of being killed. Blood was oozing from my head. This is a very extraordinary kind of narrative by the French intelligence officer. So my point is that there are very clear laws, as Avni has just pointed out, for boarding a vessel.
Tell me something, has the Navy or the Coast Guard done something like this before?
Unless there is a direct kind of input to say that there is a terrorism related angle or something which is there in the law. UNCLOS has certain, shall we say, provisions. For instance, piracy. A warship may board a vessel. There are certain protocols for vessel boarding. In the event that the ship in question is engaged either in piracy or in slave trade. More recently, we have another convention called the SUA, which is the suppression of unlawful activities at sea. If there is any kind of report by one country or the other that there are weapons of mass destruction which are being transported or whatever, there are protocols. You can board a vessel and then the law takes its course. But you get on board a ship, you beat up people to the point of almost killing them and using special forces on a yacht to me sounds very, very unlikely.
Yes.
Do countries do this? Is there a James Bond, Jean Le Carre kind of angle to this? I just say that, this is the grey area.
Is there in history a precedent of us doing this?
Frankly, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And if it did exist, I would say it's above my pay grade.
So,
maybe there are people in India who know about this.
Avni, the one question I want to ask you is, we've been reporting as well that detained in Dubai took it to American, and Hervé Jobbé is now an American national, because after he escaped from Dubai, he sought asylum, he's now an American national. They've complained to, he's complained to the FBI. Detained in Dubai has gone to Scotland Yard. They've complained to Indian authorities, but nothing seemed, they only also had a 2-line response, which was a standard generic response from Scotland Yard. So there doesn't seem to be that much of an international outrage apart from activists doing this.
So Netra, we cannot forget the political background to it. I mean, the woman who is missing is a daughter of the Prime Minister of UAE. So the politics is for everybody to see. Now, if India is in this race of, projecting itself like this developed country, then it also has to show to the world what are its rights and duties towards people, innocent people, here in this case, a single woman who is holding a valid Indian visa. She is not a terrorist. So if we say there was national interest, it's not like we have bartered one terrorist for another. India has not gone on to say that, we've given away this woman to UAE because we got Farooq Takla in exchange. So where is the question of national interest? You're basically handing over an innocent woman who is holding a valid Indian visa without following any process.
Even though she might not have come into the Indian coastline, if it was 50 miles off the Indian coastline.
So, Netra, there is nothing to suggest that there was, enough evidence on paper to show that she did come wrongfully, because her, at least in the video, she says that she had a valid visa. Yeah. Assuming that were true, as I said, there are a host of international human rights treaties which say that, you can take away these rights, you can send people where they came from only after following a due process. And if you don't do it, then the term in international human rights law is enforced disappearance. We have an international convention on enforced disappearance, which India signed in the year 2007, which says that if a person is found missing...
We have signed it. Okay.
Right. We have signed it. We have not ratified it, but we have signed it. So there are international norms flowing from it which say that if a person is missing from Indian borders, Indian authorities need to say where these people are and own up responsibility. And the fact that Indian government officials have not even come out and made any statement tells you that clearly there is more than meets the eye.
Yeah, that's what we think as well. But I just wanted to ask you, how do you think she got the visa? Because Hervé Jobbé, we confirmed it later. He said, no, we all had valid documents. So if she was hiding, which is why perhaps they took the, long-winded route of by boat, which takes 8 days from Dubai. How did they manage to get the visa?
I mean, I'm not sure that the Indian government officials at the time knew what's really playing out.
Or who she really is.
Who she really is. I mean, she applies, there's no criminal record. In fact, that speaks to the point that there was no criminal history for the visa authorities to at any point of time object to giving her a valid visa.
Okay, so we're totally out of time. Final word to you. Do you think UAE is that much of a really close ally for us that we would do this? I mean, relationship-wise?
I think, Sunetra, the UAE definitely is a very close partner, and we have a very robust relationship across the board on various strands. There is an energy dimension. Large number of Indians are working in the UAE, and we have, as I said, a very special relationship. But my last point would be that when we talk about the use of an armed force, in this case, the Coast Guard is an armed force, the Indian Navy is an armed force, so are the Army and the Air Force. I think there has to be this normative kind of underpinning of the law. The suggestion that the Indian military or the Indian Coast Guard is going to act in a manner which would be rogue is something that I find very difficult to accept.
Yeah.
So to that extent, I think the last point that you made, saying that whoever had spoken to you from the Indian Coast Guard had said this was not our operation.
That's what they say.
Maybe there is something here about, because I think Avni is absolutely right. This is a very high profile case. This is not the first time that the UAE and Middle East monarchies and their families have come under the scanner in this manner.
Yeah.
And the media also has been very reticent. Maybe NDTV is the exception.
Yeah, we've done 3-part stories on this, and it's a story we'll keep tracking till we know more about the fate of Sheikha Latifa, who tried to escape but failed, and India played this key role. So watch this space for more. Thanks to all my guests. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.